Imagine stepping into the spotlight as one of golf's brightest rising stars, only to find yourself mocked by fans, rejected by peers, and sidelined by the very institutions that once celebrated you. That's the story of Bryson DeChambeau, a man often hailed as golf's mad scientist, but also branded as one of its most divisive figures. His nickname, the Scientist, doesn't come from his looks or his attitude. It comes from the way he approaches golf as if it were an engineering puzzle waiting to be solved. Bryson has been called a genius, a disruptor, even a game changer, but he's also been ridiculed as arrogant, mocked for being slow, and criticized for betraying the very traditions of the game. The question that has haunted his career is simple. Is he a visionary worth celebrating, or a cautionary tale the golf world wishes it could forget? Bryson James Aldrich DeChambeau was born in 1993 in Modesto, California. His father, John, was a former teaching professional who introduced him to the sport at a young age. But even from the very beginning, Bryson wasn't like other juniors. While most kids copied Tiger Woods' swing or dreamed about making a long putt to win the Masters, Bryson was studying the geometry of the game. Why, he asked, was each iron in a golf set a different length? Why rely on guesswork when you could calculate angles and yardage down to the decimal point? At just 15 years old, Bryson began modifying his irons so that they were all the same length, a radical concept inspired by a physics textbook he stumbled upon. With the guidance of his coach, Mike Shy, he built a set of clubs unlike anything else in golf. That curiosity soon became obsession. By the time he reached Southern Methodist University, Bryson was already the different one, the kid who thought in equations rather than rhythm. And then, in 2015, history happened. He won both the NCAA Individual Championship and the US Amateur in the same year, something only two other men had ever done, Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. Suddenly, this eccentric kid with the weird clubs wasn't just an outlier, he was a force. When Bryson turned professional in 2016, he didn't arrive with just big dreams. He arrived with a literal toolbox. His bag was filled with single-length clubs, his flat cap was a nod to Ben Hogan, and his vocabulary was loaded with numbers, equations, and aerodynamic theories. On the course, he looked less like a traditional golfer and more like someone testing a lab experiment in real time. While most pros relied on instinct, Bryson relied on analysis. Fans and commentators called him quirky, unusual, even a breath of fresh air. For a while, being different worked in his favor. But quirks in golf have a short shelf life. And soon, what was once entertaining would start to irritate nearly everyone around him. By 2018 and 2019, murmurs about Bryson's methodical pace started to grow louder. Then came the viral moments, clips of him taking over 2 minutes to line up a simple 8-foot putt. To his critics, it wasn't science. It was stalling. Brooks Koepka, one of golf's biggest stars, didn't hold back. "I just don't understand how it takes a minute and 20 seconds to hit a golf ball. It's not that hard," he said. That public jab sparked a feud that would explode in ways golf hadn't seen in decades. The infamous eye-roll video, where Koepka visibly lost patience as Bryson walked behind him during an interview, spread like wildfire online. Fans piled on, heckling Bryson with chants of "Brooksy" during tournaments. It got so relentless that the PGA Tour had to step in and ban the chant altogether. And then came the Red Ants incident. At the 2020 WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational, Bryson tried to claim relief because he believed fire ants were near his ball. Cameras captured it, fans mocked it, and social media turned it into another punchline. The narrative was shifting. Bryson wasn't just different anymore, he was difficult. But Bryson wasn't done rewriting golf's rules. In late 2019, he began a transformation that stunned the sports world. Through a high-protein diet and grueling workouts, he packed on over 40 pounds of muscle in less than a year. His goal? To become the longest driver in professional golf. At first, people laughed. Commentators joked about his bulking. Fans called it reckless. And even some players questioned whether it was sustainable. But Bryson proved them wrong. At the 2020 US Open at Winged Foot, he overpowered the course in ways no one thought possible. While the rest of the field struggled, Bryson blasted drives that made bunkers irrelevant and left competitors shaking their heads. He was the only player to finish under par, and he won by 6 strokes. That victory wasn't just a trophy. It was a statement. It proved that science, strength, and strategy could beat tradition, touch, and instinct. But it also made him more polarizing than ever. Because Bryson wasn't just winning, he was changing the very definition of how golf could be played. In sports, winning usually buys goodwill. But not for Bryson. Instead, the noise only got louder. One of his most infamous slip-ups came at the 2021 Open Championship when he blamed his poor round on his equipment, bluntly saying, "The driver sucks." That didn't sit well with his sponsor, Cobra Golf. Their tour operations manager fired back publicly, calling his remarks really painful. Moments like this painted Bryson as arrogant, defensive, and out of touch. His intensity, once seen as passion, now came across as ego. For many fans, connecting with him became harder and harder. But the biggest storm of his career was still ahead. In 2022, Bryson joined LIV Golf, the Saudi-backed league that promised huge paychecks, fewer events, and a new model for the sport. Reports suggested his deal was worth over $100 million. For some, it was just business, but for others, it was betrayal. The PGA Tour suspended him indefinitely, his sponsors backed away, and golf's traditionalists saw his move as a rejection of the game's history. Bryson's presence in mainstream golf coverage all but disappeared. Broadcasters rarely mentioned him, fans accused him of selling out, and he suddenly became the face of golf's civil war. To his critics, he wasn't just the scientist anymore, he was a defector. But Bryson didn't fade away. While the PGA and media cooled, he built his own platform. In 2020, he had launched a YouTube channel. At first, it was just training clips and equipment breakdowns. But by 2023, it had over 1 million subscribers. His channel wasn't about defending himself, it was about showing the world golf through his lens. Physics, numbers, and challenges that fans actually enjoyed. By controlling his own narrative, Bryson proved that he didn't need traditional media to stay relevant. He could connect directly with fans, bypassing the gatekeepers who once defined his image. And then came the comeback. In August 2023, Bryson won his first LIV golf tournament. A few weeks later, he followed it up with another win in Chicago. Suddenly, the man many had written off as a sellout was proving he still had game. But his biggest moment came in 2024. Despite being suspended from the PGA Tour, he was still eligible for golf's majors. At the PGA Championship, he nearly shocked the world, finishing just one shot behind Xander Schauffele. As he walked up the 18th, fans gave him a standing ovation. The same people who once mocked him were now cheering. Then came Pinehurst, the 2024 US Open, a duel with Rory McIlroy, and Bryson held his ground. He won his second major title, silencing years of criticism, not with words but with results. This time, he didn't clap back. He didn't argue, he didn't explain, he just lifted the trophy. And that silence said more than anything else. Conclusion: genius or villain. Bryson DeChambeau's story isn't just about golf. It's about what happens when someone challenges tradition, refuses to conform, and pays the price for it. He's been called arrogant, brilliant, disruptive, and misunderstood, sometimes all in the same week. He's lived through memes, heckles, suspensions, and scandals. Yet he's also reinvented himself, rebuilt his image, and proven that his way can win at the highest level. The question now isn't whether Bryson belongs, it's whether the world of golf is ready to accept what he represents. A new kind of player, a new kind of scientist. So what do you think? Is Bryson DeChambeau the future of golf, or its ultimate cautionary tale?